Welcome back to another episode of the Resellers Mindset Podcast. My name is Mike, also known as the Used Book Guy on YouTube, along with my friend and fellow full-time reseller, Johnny B. We help people start and grow their reselling businesses from the ground up. We also have a weekly Zoom call and private Discord for all YouTube members. Head on over to youtube.com/usedbookguy to join the channel and gain access to the full-length podcast, Zoom call, and private Discord today. Let's get into this week's episode. What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Resellers Mindset Podcast. Mike next to Johnny. Special guest today, Eduardo, down underneath both of us here, a toy part seller. So this is kind of unique to me because you just part out tools. So Eduardo, thanks for coming on the podcast today. Give us a little bit insight of like how you got into parting toys, or like how do you even come on to being an eBay seller and getting to your business where it is today?
Thank you for having me in the show. Thank you for inviting me. Happy to share with you my humble experience. I started selling toys probably in the pandemic, because I have other businesses, and in the pandemic they kind of all went to a halt when nothing was going on, and I'm like, okay, so I have always been a toy collector. I've been a GI Joe collector specifically, and in the pandemic I said, you know what? What if I can sell a few things online and then make it like make an additional income with the toys? And little did I know what was going to happen, that it was going to be good business. And I was like, wow, this works. And I'm like, okay, I posted it, I sold it. I'm like, what if I post two? And then what if I post 10? And then, I was selling. And I guess it was the right moment to do it because the stimulus money was out and people were buying like crazy. So it was a good experience. So I say, I have something interesting here. And then little by little, I started seeing this take off in a way where I was getting like real income, sometimes even better than some of the other businesses I have. And I'm like, this is interesting. So I kind of decided to exploit it, and then I found tech, and then it went from there. I started really learning about business because I had no idea how to do this, like really. Um, and that's where it all started. And from there on, I'm still learning and I'm still growing.
So I think the most interesting thing, one of many, but probably the top of my list, where are you from, Eduardo? And where do you sell from?
So I am from Panama, Central America. I live in Panama. I'm down here. Um, it's a challenge, to say the least. Yeah, I'm from down here, and I pretty much try to do my eBay store the same way all of the Americans do it, and I've found success doing it, but it's been definitely a challenge being down here for many reasons, and we can discuss those later. But it's been one crazy thing after another.
And is most of your customer base US based, or is it another country, or is it in fact Panama?
I would say no. Panama is like 0%. I don't sell anything to Panamanians, nothing at all. I mean, I know a few people that collect toys and they buy a little thing here, a little thing there from me every now and then, but like a personal thing. My real business is 60% or 70% America, and then 30% the rest of the world. And actually it was more before. It was kind of getting to a 50-50, but Panama has so many problems when it comes to shipping,
Yeah.
that I had to limit the amount of international business that I was doing. And then I mostly sell now to the United States, but I still have a good portion of international, and I ship international through the United States.
Cool. Now, is it just you, or do you have employees in a warehouse or something in the middle?
Yeah, I have my warehouse, and I have three people working for me at the moment.
Cool. And how many hours a week do you do eBay?
I pretty much do eBay all the time. Like I'm all the time on eBay. Of course, throughout my day, I have a bunch of things going on here and there, but like I think finding this gig or this business where I could not only do money or make money, but also do it in what I love, which is collecting toys or in selling toys. Man, that was like a great combination. So I want to spend all my time in here because I really enjoy it. To me, it's part of the fun. And in one of the toy calls, I remember talking about this. I was saying like, hey, when you do your 8 hour shift, when you're ready to leave, I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I've done everything I need to do. I'm done for the day. I'm out. Now I bring out parts. I want to parse them, and I want to do like separate them by color and try to find out what I have. Maybe I have a valuable part here, and so that part which is necessary for the business becomes my hobby after hours, and it's all part of the business in the end. But it's just what I like. That's it. I don't know how to say it. It whatever I do as a hobby also becomes part of the business, but I'm doing it as a hobby mixed in with the business, kind of. I don't know. I don't know
All
that.
right. So you collect toys and you sell toys. So you get into a little bit of gray area here. Now, what happens? You come up on a G.I. Joe figure that you don't have in your collection, but it's worth, we'll say, for this experiment, $150 that you're like, all right, I don't have this G.I. Joe. I can sell it for $150, but I am a collector. What are you doing, dude? Are you selling it or are you keeping it for yourself?
I'm selling it. I'm selling it. I don't collect anymore. I
Oh,
I've collected all my life and I enjoy toys and I've enjoyed them all my life. And when I started this business, I learned that I love making money out of toys more than I love the toys. So I'm pretty much, I sell it. I don't keep anything. As a matter of fact, I'm selling all of my collection. As I do this and I'm enjoying it because of course, in that GI Joe niche, I know a ton of people that are specialized. And for example, I have a buddy of mine that he has a huge collection of wetsuit. That's just one figure. He has the prototypes. He has everything about wetsuit. So I sold him my factory samples, and I sold him my. Like I'm trying to like find people who are like kind of curated in a way where like okay, I'm trying to push these valuable because I have a lot of one of one. Like this is the only one in the world, like the only one. So I'm trying to get those to a good home. But other than that, everything else gets sold. I don't have any attachments and I'm not buying, I haven't bought anything for my collection in a very long time, in 5 years.
Cool. So how many listings do you do a day?
Ugh. Well,
Too
that's
many?
no, not really. Like okay, I should be doing 150 or 100 listings, but I've been doing 20 for a long time, and I haven't been the most consistent person at all. It's been a struggle for me, like I guess for everybody. It's kind of like the hardest part. And yesterday I was talking to a friend of mine. I was saying like, hey, I pretty much have very good processes. I have things going on for me. I've figured out a system to be able to ship consistently and efficiently and in time on time anywhere around the world without using my Panama Postal Service, which is crazy. However, had I been if I was able to list 150 or 100 items per day, I would just do a bunch of money. Like it would be crazy. But I can't figure it out. And I've been trying to figure it out, but it's still that I'm still there. I'm trying to, break that barrier and try to make it. I'm trying to get there eventually.
All right.
I've
So
done it. I've sat down and I have done 80. I have done 100, but that's like a one shot. And then the next day I can't even function. So
cool. So we're targeting 150. We're listing a minimum of 20, and some days we're doing somewhere in between. So are sales consistent for you doing it this way?
yes.
Cool. Now you don't have to tell me an exact figure, but a roundabout figure. How much money does a parts toy seller make roughly?
Well, I mean, last year we did under $200,000
Okay.
for the year, and I said that this year I wanted to make 200,000. Obviously next year I want to do more, but the more I want to do, the more I discover, not discover, the more I realize that I have to kind of go away a little bit from the parts because the parts are inexpensive to a way. So it's hard to make $5 million selling 399 parts. It's just
yeah.
crazy. Not crazy, not impossible, but it's just really hard. So then maybe I can do lots. Maybe I can do, and I have been doing that. Now I have another niche where I'm not only selling to collectors, but I'm selling to resellers. Where now I'm trying to sell lots, and those are working out the tests that I've done have worked out, and those people are happy. So we're gonna explore that a little bit more, and we have enough toys to be able to sell that as well, like sell lots and sell parts at the same time.
So I guess a question that may come up in our audience here is you live in Panama. How are you getting these US toys in your area? You don't have to give specifics exactly like the flea market you go to, its name or anything,
Right,
but
right.
how are you accumulating these US toys?
I mean, everything comes from online arbitrage, everything. Um, I also have deals in place with people. I want to say, I'll just say people. But I have deals in place where toys come to me. Um, People are dealing in those things over there in the States. They call me every 3 months and they say, hey, I'm going to ship you 600 pounds of accessories. And, I get a huge load of accessories there. And in the same way we've always talking in previous calls and stuff in the group and all of that, we've been discussing how to do this effectively to have them know what I need, what I'm looking for. So when that comes in, it works. It's a little bit harder with toy parts, because, when you get 600 pounds of toy parts, it's, you're going to get a little bit of everything. You're going to get the $300 parts. You're going to get the $50 parts. You're going to get the $100 parts, and you're going to get the $1 parts. So it's kind of, like a little bit of a, but then I'm trying to be able to sort all that and then sell what I want to sell individually and sell what I want to sell in lots, and have different channels to channel all of that out in different ways.
And just get people's perspective, because I know how much these parts weigh roughly. So when you say 600 pounds of toy parts, how many pieces roughly do you think that is?
I've never counted that, but I honestly never counted that. But there's
More or
like
less than 10,000 pieces.
more,
More than 10,000.
way more, way more.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a bin could hold, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 thousand parts, or even more. A regular bin, like my bins are like this size of bins.
Yeah.
Uh, a bin like that full of parts could hold several thousand parts. So 600 pounds is 10 or 12 of those bins. It's crazy. It's a lot.
So we're way north of 50,000 pieces for just one order. So that leads me to my next fun question. How long does it take to process all that? Go through each and every 50,000 plus pieces.
It's pretty quick, believe it or not. But the processing, it's not. So it's for us, it's kind of like it's a game, and we're always working here, and when we have lots that come in, we're like, everybody's rushing to finish whatever they're doing, because we all want to jump into the parts and kind of process them together. And we do it together. We have a very specific process on how to do it. But the first thing we do is just dump the whole thing. Well, let's say there's 10 bins. We'll dump one bin or half a bin on a huge table that we have, and then we start parsing. We start parsing into different categories. And the first category is, okay, we have one category, which is what we call to add to our store, meaning we already have it listed, it's already sold, or it might have been sold 6 months ago. It's in zero. We don't have anymore. We haven't had it in a while, but it has to be added back to our store because that's already listed. Because we also keep all of our listings, so we never lose them. Anyway, long story short, one section will be all the stuff that we're adding to the store, and the other section is, okay, this is what we don't know what it is. And what we don't know what it is has, like, it gets subdivided. One is like, these are really cool, this might be worth something. Like, we kind of already know because of our experience. We grab a part and we know, like, this could be $100 part, this could be $150 part. We have no idea what it is. So basically, we pull it to a side, which is what we're going to investigate in the next few days. And then the rest goes to our parts parsing section, which is another separate area in our warehouse, where we have everything divided by color and by subject. So we have hats, we have guns, we have bombs, we have barrels, tires, doors, roof, stands, and then everything's in, like, for example, the stands have stands, red stands, blue stands, green stands, clear stands, black stands, stands with 1 peg, 2 pegs, 3 pegs. When we're done with the stands, then we're going to guns, guns with sights, guns with holsters, gun with, it's divided.
You're
Shovel.
making book life sound like a breeze, man.
Yeah, yes.
It's really crazy. We have like all these bicolors. So why do we do that? It's because we don't know what none of that is. But as we're identifying stuff, we're like, oh, so this piece has I don't know, a purple wheelbarrow. Okay, we'll go back to our little place and we'll look for the wheelbarrows. We'll go to the color purple. Boom, there it is. Oh, we got it. So now we can complete the figure. Or so all the stuff that's back there, we don't know what it is. It's just back there. We have canopies, we have all sorts of things, hatches, doors, all that. And there's incredible value in all of that, but we don't know everything. So as we ID, we kind of learn what these things are, and then it's an ongoing process. People are like, can you teach me how to identify parts? And it's like, it's a very long process, and you start learning and learning. It's like if I ask you, hey, Johnny, can you show me what are the best books I can buy? It's like, yeah, I could tell you a couple of things or pointers, but there's experience behind it. So when you look at a haul, you're like, okay, I know these are going to be good or not, and then you're like, these I don't know, but then you figure it out, you do your research, and you're like, these are good, and it's a process. So for us, it is a very long process in the sense that they're sitting there, they're not doing anything, they're just, but we have them all organized and we have them in a way that works for us, and that's what we like about that room. And then we always go back and we're finding stuff. And then what we do is when our drawers are overflowing, so if there's a drawer that the red missiles is overflowing, somebody will take that out and we'll investigate red missiles for the next 2 weeks. And then we'll come up. And then we have another section of the warehouse where we have bins full of already ID parts. So it's bins full of already ID parts ready for pictures. So and then our photo studio is taking pictures all the time, and then they're just processing whatever comes in, and then that we'll just end it there. But pretty much that's like, there's a lot of stuff, but you can just shoot your questions.
I got a pretty demented question for you. So do you piece out like the actual figures, right? So like you get a Barbie and she's together. Do you like pop off the head and sell the head, and then you pop off the arms and sell the arms? Like, is that a thing?
It is a thing. We don't do it as much now. Before we were doing that, but now we don't do that as much. If we have the Barbie and it's complete, we'll sell it complete. But it really, the correct answer would be depends, because what we do is we kind of look at the item and we see if this item has more demand, or we could make more money selling it by parts or individually. For example, there's just a quick example. Beast Wars is a section of Transformers. Recently, there was a movie. Beast Wars sell for 20, 30 bucks. But if you take a Beast Wars action figure or a robot and you break it all down, you can make $100 with the same robot, and it sells quick. Because a lot of people are buying these online, and they're buying lots, and they're interchanging lots of robots and whatever, and then they get a figure and it's missing a foot, or it's missing, and then they need that foot, and they don't care. I mean, the figure's worth $30. They don't mind paying $10 per foot. They just want their figure complete because they want to have it complete, but they can't find the foot. So for Beast Wars, I'd rather separate them and sell them separated, because I will make more money. In G.I. Joe, I would probably sell the toys complete, but there are certain vehicles that I can get. For example, a Tomahawk, which is the helicopter for the G.I. Joes, the two rotor helicopter. A Tomahawk I can sell for $700, $800 complete in its box. If I parse it, if I break it down into parts, I can make maybe 100 or 150. So it's better to sell complete. So you have to kind of see what, depending on the toy line, you'll be able to make more or less money if the item is complete or not.
So off that, I have an efficiency question. Um, so selling it, your Beast Wars scenario, selling it for $20 versus parting it out to go all the way to 100. Would it be fast if you kept just doing figure versus deconstructing figure? The time per hour and the profit per hour in that, what's the math translate? Is it worth the time to disassemble it all in a Beast War kind of scenario?
Well, in our case for Beast Wars, we pretty much have all the robots already, all the listings are done. We've done
Okay.
them throughout the years.
Yeah.
So, and mind you,
That
I have to
that
say,
that answer makes sense to me. Okay.
right.
Okay.
But then on top of that, I have to say that when I buy these figures, I don't get them all complete all the time.
Mm,
So I might get an incomplete figure. So what do I do now? It's incomplete.
yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? Just break it down, and then we'll sell them because we have all the listings ready. Some of them might be up, and maybe let's say from a specific robot, I haven't sold. I have 8 arms, and I've never sold an arm. It has 0 sold, never sold in 5 years, never sold one. If we got another one, we'll do 9. It stays there.
Yeah.
And then what happens is, curiously enough, people come, and then we have some specific deals for our customers, and they come in and they would buy large orders, and then one guy is like, hey, you know what, I need one of those arms, and they'll buy it because it's hard when you do parts. It's really hard to have every single part be 100% desirable and 100% sell through, because the reality is that not every single part of every single toy is has a fast sell through. I have to have the right person come along when they have the robot that's missing that exact same arm that I have, and then that's why in reality people don't do this business, because it's crazy what I'm trying to do here. It's just crazy. But the fact that I've been doing it long enough, and the fact that we have kept all of our listings, and the fact that has made it possible where we right now we only have 11,000 listings. If we could have 50 or we could have 100, which is what I'm working towards, I want to get there eventually. When that happens, it's going to be a totally different story. But right now we're seeing incredible numbers, and we're having fun, and everything's working well, and we have what we have. So imagine if we had all of that. So we're just working towards that.
Cool. Now, you mentioned customers. You've been doing eBay a minute now. How many on a day-to-day average basis or a year-over-year average basis, how many of your customers are actually repeat recurring customers?
Well, as per my metrics, I have seen that we have around 30 to 40% recurring,
Wow.
and 60% is new.
That's
So,
impressive, actually. Yeah, okay.
right.
Now,
Because I guess these are all collectors, and we have become pretty good in hammering the culture behind what we're doing. So on top of building the store and doing all that and getting the pictures and getting the product and all of that, we're also kind of building this community and trying to have them come again, and trying to get and giving them coupons and giving them reasons to come back.
yeah.
And I mean, it's been a challenge like for everybody, but I guess because it's a collector kind of market, because I have to say that my market is a collector.
Yeah.
When Christmas comes along, I'm not selling like to the mom that's gonna buy a toy for the kid to put under the tree. Not really. Like my customer is a collector. So they come back. They like the service. They like the pictures. They like that what we sell is what we show. They like all of that, and they come back, and we have a good returning business.
Multi-quantity orders, is that most of your orders are multi-quantity, or are they buying one-offs when they do shop?
Like we get both.
Right.
We get people buying one item. We get a lot of that. One item, one item, one item. And then in the day now we're getting 3 or 4 orders where we get, um, I don't know, 20, 23, 28 parts in one order. So we're getting multiple orders that have multiple items in them. And then we're also like, again, we're also getting resellers. So sometimes as crazy as it may sound, I may put up a missile up, and I would say, okay, I have 130 of these missiles, and then somebody comes and buys 80 missiles in a snap. Because the missile is $299, right? So they say, okay, give me 80, either because they're reselling or because they're doing a custom, or they're building a display with, I don't know, so they want to have more bombs or more. But they come in and they so we the more we have, the better. So we try to, every single listing we put up, we try and get, okay, how many we have? So we have 30, we have 50, we put them all up and they sell.
What are some like limitations that you're like, or lines you're not willing to cross in toys? Like, do you do like board games? Do you do Nerf guns? Like, do you have anything where you're like, hey, we are not messing with this, even though it's kind of considered a toy in the toy category?
There are certain lines, like for the most part here, like if we see Gundam, for example, we just stay away from Gundam. Like we don't get into any of that. We try to stay away from girl toys just because it's the same of saying, okay, so I'm a men's clothing seller or I'm a women's clothing seller. It's completely different. And we have the men's categories pretty much like drilled down. So we try to stay away on, like, before. I say before, when I started doing all this, I acquired a lot, and we have tons of girls' toys, but we don't touch them. We don't process them at the moment. They're just there. We don't actively buy anything girl toys unless there's something specific that we know that will make us some buck or whatever. But we
What
try
about
it.
those I forget what they're called, the sets, like the scenery terrain little background sets that you use the figures to play on, kind of deal. Do you do those?
Like to do scenarios and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like, that big GI Joe battleship that takes like 10 tables worth of space.
the USSS flag.
Do you know what I'm talking about? There it is.
Yeah. Well, here's one too. That's a terror drone. That's another big one.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, yeah, I do these play sets, but I sell them by parts. So I when I find them, which is hard, they're hard to find and they're expensive. When I do, I sell them by parts. And again, there's 100 people trying to complete that thing. So, I'll sell every single piece of it really quickly because everybody needs that. And that's a $2,000 set. So if you can buy a part for $100 or 150 or 80 or 50 or 30, you know, people are going to buy it. We just stay away from stuff that's kind of complicated. We stay away from like the manga and the Asian kind of, like, it's because it's a whole different game. It's completely, we don't know about it either. So it's there's, you need knowledge to be in this game. There's like, and every one of those little like Japanese cartoons and stuff like that, it's just, I mean, just to mention, if you go, like, if you even try to go like Dragon Ball or Yu-Gi-Oh way, it just becomes crazy immediately. It's just something else. So I stay more on the regular standard toys, vintage toys. But when we buy 600 pounds of toys or 300 pounds of toys, or even 100 pounds of toys, we'll get a little bit of everything. So, I do get, so we have a box, a bin where we're filling it. Where every time when we do the parsing that I told you at the beginning on the table, we'll select all the parts that are board game parts, and they will go to that bin. So when that bin is full, or when we think we have, we'll just maybe do a little section on our store called like board game parts, and then we'll do, Clue, and how many Clue ropes I have, and so how many Clue, the tools that they use to kill the different people in the board game, whatever. I have a ton of those. I have dice. I have, all kinds of crazy things that we don't actively sell, but they're there. We're keeping them there, and then when we have like a decent amount, then we'll do even maybe a lot of, maybe 30 dice, and we'll do a lot of that. And we'll do a strawberry shortcake lot, whatever we have from strawberry shortcake, and we'll let it go just to move it along. But we're kind of building them up as we get parts. We'll just throw stuff in there and make them grow. And when we have like a decent amount, then we'll go ahead and sell them.
All right, I got the question I ask every eBay seller. Promoted listings.
Oh, no.
Do you use them? Are they required? I mean, you already told us we can do six figures ripping off GI Joe arms and legs and parting them out. Is there some secret to doing this? Like, promoted listings are the big thing where people are like, you don't got to promote. you got to promote. What do you do, and what do you think like the overall person should do? I
And
guess.
before you answer, Tech does watch these.
Yes, and I ask
Okay.
everybody, so don't feel bad. I'm not just
It's
picking on you.
okay. It's okay. I don't mind Tech watching this. Tech knows pretty much what I do as well. So before when I was starting out, I was not promoting. And I remember, and I want to say names, and I remember a couple of people in the group were like, you gotta promote. Like people that are doing really well in the group and they're like, they're really experienced. They're like, man, you have to promote, you have to promote, you're missing out. And I'm like, you know what? Let me try it. And I have to say that I tried it and my sales went a little bit up. You know, they went higher than before. I have divided my store into kind of like into two sections where probably 40% of the store is promoted and there's a 60% that's not promoted, which are like all the things that I know I sell immediately the moment I list them, or that when I say immediately is they'll sell under 3 months. They're gonna send you this month or maybe next week. But those parts I try not to promote them. But then I do have the rest that I just do promote, and then it's crazy because sometimes you look for a part and I'll be the only one there and it's being promoted. You see two results. You know, you see my regular listing and I'm like, I should take it out, but I'm like, I'm on the horse. So I'm not gonna kind of like stop promoting listings just to not affect the performance in my store and my metrics. But I am kind of like slowly getting the stuff that I know it's unique or hard to get or all of that. I'm taking it out so I don't get dinged or my high, like I have figures that are $2,000. Those things I don't promote them. I don't need to. It's the only one on eBay. So why promote it?
I was gonna say like what's the most expensive part you have sold, and does it surprise you like that somebody's willing to pay $2,000 for GI Joe's bazooka? Like, does it shock you every time you sell something like this, or are you just like I was a collector, I know what it's worth to certain people, but I'm curious, like, what's the smallest, most valuable thing you've ever sold that you're just like, hey, I don't know why somebody just paid, X amount of dollars for Michelangelo's nunchucks.
Right. Well, yeah, it's first off, it really is it blows you away. Like when you see these sales that people will pay $280, $270 for one single accessory to a figure, it blows you out away. You're like, wow, who's willing to spend $300 on a little piece of plastic? However, when you look at the complete figure, the figure is worth $1,200. So you're like, then when you look at that side of the story, you're like, well, it makes sense. You have a figure that's worth $1,200. You're only missing the gun, and this dude has it. I'll spend the $200 because in the end, I found this in my attic. I had it from when I was a child, so they didn't spend $1,000 to buy the figure. So it makes sense for them to complete it, spending $200 and completing their expensive figure. So it makes sense. And if you ask me what's the more expensive part that I've sold, probably around $280 to $300. That's kind of like when that's an expensive part. And then figures, I have sold $6,000 figures. I mean, that's a complete figure sealed from prototype or whatever. That's just something different. It's not a part. But and then they go for way more money. And
That's
have I been nervous selling a $6,000 figure? Yes, I have been nervous as well.
I guess that
You
kind of
never
gets me
know what's
to,
going to happen.
yeah, like, all right, you part out toys. I mean, do people, your friends and family, kind of think you're like a little bit off the wagon here because like you sell parts of toys and this is what you do for like a living? Like it sounds crazy. Like if I just had to walk up to somebody in the street, like selling books, okay, they're like, all right, yeah, there's bookstores everywhere, but I mean, there's really no stores where you can go and just buy parts for toys.
That's why I do it. That's why, because there's not really a place where you can go and find the parts.
We had
Yeah,
one when I was a little bitty boy, like maybe 7 or 8. There was a toy store and they had baskets, kind of like you were describing, of the gun basket, the rifle basket, the Barbie head basket, and they had toys in general. But I remember them having a particular display case. Let me just say they went out of business because they did not advertise. Because it didn't last till I was like 9 years old. It was like 2 years we went there to get cheap toys or weird one-off toys. But I remember that toy store. I do.
right, right. Well, I mean, it's when people ask you like, what do you do? I have a store on eBay. I don't say I have a part store on it. And when they start asking more, they're actually, it's interesting how they go like, interesting. So you sell parts and you're making a living and you have a house and you have a family and you have kids going to school and you have all this going on. Man, how do you do this? It's just, you know, they see that I'm doing it, so it's like, they're actually amazed because it's like it's so weird. Like you just said, people don't, either I'm an electrician or I'm a computer engineer or but I'm not an eBay toy part seller, and I sell little missiles.
So, so to give people an idea, you mentioned earlier somewhere around $200,000 you make. It's a decent amount of money in the US, but is that like a fortune in Panama? Because when we've had people on the UK and Australia, it's fairly comparable to the US, but in Panama, how is that in comparison dollar per dollar?
It's comparable. I mean, it really depends on the city of the United States that you want to compare it to. But Panama, well, for starters, Panama has the U.S. dollar. So U.S. dollar is the main currency here. So we don't convert anything. We use the dollar. So there are things that are less expensive than the US, and there are things that are more expensive than the US. I mean, if you want to get an apartment, a condo here in the center of the city, you're looking at 400, $500,000 for an apartment, or maybe $700, depending on the section of the city. And there's areas where you can get one for $2 million. So it's just,
It's
very
very
comparable.
comparable. Okay. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very comparable to the United States. If you go to like outer side of the city, you can get a home for, maybe 150,000. It's just a smaller home and you're outside of the city in the suburbs. There's a little bit, but a meal would cost you 40, $50. If you go out to eat, that's what you're gonna pay. The same thing. I was actually blown away when I went to San Francisco last year. Um, so we were getting hot dogs and chips and pizza and paying $110. I was like with my wife, and we were like, damn, like it was. I felt it was really expensive. And we're right now we're going on vacation and we're going to London, and I'm looking at the prices over there. I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be crazy because London is very expensive as well. But yeah, Panama's comparable for sure.
You're you kind of hit on the fact that you do have kids. Do you like are your kids interested in your business, or like they kind of just like, yeah, dad does this thing and keeps the roof over our head?
Yeah, well, they know I keep the roof over their heads. They're not into the toys too much. Um, the bigger one is like, hey, daddy, can I work? Can I come work with? Because they both work for me every now and then. They come in and they're like, I'll give them a bin and they'll sit down and they'll parse the bin. I'll separate the different parts and stuff like that. And I'll pay them 20, $30 just for doing that, just to give them a little bit of cash. Because I'm gonna give them the cash anyway, right? So why not have something done in the process, and they learn responsibility and all of that. But it's not that I think that they want to, like, she's thinking, I like the bigger one wanted to do something. I say, you know what, if you want me to do this for you, you have to promise me that you're going to open your eBay store and you're going to start your business, and I'm going to help you through it. I'm going to ship for you. I have the shipping station, I have everything here, but you have to start your own thing. And she's like, you have me tempted. So she's thinking about it, but like she's interested, but she's probably not going to sell toys. She's probably going to do something else. But yeah, they're not like, oh my God, my dad sells toys, I want to be. But the little one comes in every now and then and she'll like, Daddy, can you bring that bin down and can I play with those? And then she'll sit down and wait and play with those, and I'll let them. But yeah,
So I think we forgot to ask, we probably should have asked you way earlier on. Is it buy it now or is it auctions for your parts store?
buy it now, buy it now.
Have
I
you
have
have you done
tried
any of the
auction.
auctions or do you do certain things with auctions or just not at all?
Yeah, lately I was playing around. That's why if you look for lots in my store, I don't have any more because I auctioned them off. I was testing the waters. However, I don't know if it's because I'm not. This is actually for the past 3 weeks. I've been trying this as a new thing, so I don't know much about auctions. The only thing I do know is that they're not selling as well as I wanted them to sell. So I don't know if it's because it's summer slowdown or it's because I shouldn't be doing lots because I'm like, damn, this is a lot that was worth $600 and I got, maybe 280. So I was like, it's not going where I wanted it to go. But, we did get a good influx of money just by doing lots. It was so we are starting to with the when we already took a bunch of pictures and we're gonna upload some listings now in the next few weeks that I'm gonna be out. We're gonna be listing these items, these lots, but we're gonna try buy it now for the lots. We've never done that either, so we're gonna try that now instead of auction. We're gonna do the lots, but buy it now and kind of price them accordingly, and then give them some room for them to make money as well. But we're gonna try that and see what happens.
How many photos per listing?
Uh, our little process that we've made says that it has to be 7 pictures minimum. However, we're doing 18 now because all of our pictures have our logo. And recently, just as a safety precaution, I was like, you know what if eBay turns around and says, guys, you have 2 weeks. I don't want no logos and no listings anymore. And I have 11,000 items. What do I do? Like, I can't retake all those pictures in 2 days. It's just not going to happen. So now when we're doing the pictures, we're taking a small set of pictures. They're all white, no logo. So, and we'll upload them. So if that happens tomorrow, I can call or I can hire somebody in one of these countries, and they can just come into the store and delete all the pictures that have the logo and leave the ones that have white background, and we're still in business. So that's just as a backup. And now we're doing about 18 pictures. And every action figure that's complete or vehicle that's complete also has now video. So we're always trying to stay ahead, from the competition. Nobody's doing this. People that are doing parts have 1 picture. That's it. Maybe 2.
That'd be me.
You go to people like Wheeljack Slab, which is a big store, and they have 3 pictures, 2 pictures. That's it. So we want to have all the pictures, all the videos, all the information. So we have the most item specifics than anybody. We are number 1 on eBay in the parts category, and we are number 24 out of 289,000 sellers. Right here, down in Panama, this crazy guy has number 24 on eBay. It's just crazy. There's a lot of people selling, and we're trying to make our store the best possible store.
So I have a fun question for you, and this is going to put you on the spot slightly. 60 seconds or less. Give us all the best toy information tips a new seller wanting to get into parts could do in 60 seconds or less.
Oh my God. Don't get into parts. It's crazy.
Yeah. That's all we need. We didn't even need 60 seconds.
I mean, that's all, folks. Well, no, I mean, it's just a process. Start with what you know. Start selling toys that you know. Start with one brand. Don't try to branch out to everything. Learn that toy line. Do well in it. Then start doing a couple more. As you sell what you know, start researching a little bit into other toy lines. See what sells. And it's just a process, but little by little, go and then expand and then grow from there up. Don't try to do this. I mean, parts is a really hard business. Like I wouldn't push anybody to do like if you say, hey, I have $100,000 and I want to invest in toys and do a toy store, I would never tell you go do parts. It's just you'll burn all your money, and it's not an easy startup. I had other businesses, I had other ways of making money, so that helped me in the process of doing what I'm doing now, but I had that cushion that not everybody has, and that it's just not easy, and it's very competitive. So just go little by little, start with the complete figures, complete toys, and then branch out of that and see how it goes.
What type of inventory system do you need to have 11,000 different little parts in a way where you can easily go find this when you get an order? Because I can't even begin. Listen, your generic eBay reseller has those cardboard boxes and then the Ziploc bags with the SKU on it. That can't exist in your business because you can fit 1,000 in one of those cardboard boxes. How does this look like in your business? I don't even know where to begin.
Like it's crazy. We've been developing our own system, and it's worked really well for us, but it has some drawbacks. And I've talked about this in the group. I've talked to this about tech, and pretty much like it's not an easy. The problems that we have are not easy to fix, and pretty much tech said like, well, you have 2 options: either you start from scratch, you undo everything and start from scratch again. I'm not going to do that. That's crazy for me. I'm not going to do that. Or you just, continue a different route. But I've tried different routes and it doesn't, the problems, I don't want to get into that right now, but the problems that we do have with our inventory system are not easy to overcome, because it's not only putting away the stuff that you list, but it's also adding replenishables to those already listed items that are already put away in a different place. And it's just, and when you have hundreds of them, imagine you have 100 items and you have to add them to the store. Do you walk 100 times to different areas of your warehouse where all these parts are and put them in the same place? You don't. So if you're going to put them in a new place, how do you keep that up with the SKU system so that you don't lose items? Let's say out of 1,000 items that we sell, we find 950 of them, but there's 50 that go missing. Fortunately enough, for the most part, those 50, we have backups. So we can go to the G.I. Joe section and dig out another helmet, even if it's not in the location that we said, and we can replenish, we can just fulfill the order. And when not, I have to cancel an order. It has happened. It doesn't happen a lot, but it has happened, and it frustrates me because I feel that it's one of those growing pains where I'm like, if I'm going to accelerate and I'm going to grow and I'm going to have 50,000 listings or 100,000 listings, I need to figure out a way to fix it, because it's going to amplify itself. The problem is going to amplify itself, especially with the speed of sales and all of that. It's going to be, if I start getting 200 sales a day or 100, I wouldn't know how to do that at the moment. I don't think I can handle 200 or 300 sales a day. It
I
wouldn't
think
be
you
possible.
would have to come up with your own system. And the only comparable sellers that I could think of are maybe jewelry, because they deal in a lot of smalls, and maybe the car guys, because they deal in compact smalls, essentially.
Right. And actually, I was talking to a few of the top the car parts guys, and they've had this problem too. They have the
Yeah.
same problem, like where you can, and it's just because it's human error. Like sometimes I process those add ups where we're adding, and sometimes I'll add the part. Either I'll forget to update the SKU, or I purposely know that I'm updating the SKU, but for some reason it doesn't save. So you save it and you think it's saved, but it's not saved. So when you actually sell the part, you can't find it. You don't know where it is. And there's thousands of parts. So how do you, it's just, today we had an example of that. Today we were fulfilling an order that was very large, and we had 2 items that we couldn't find from that large order. And we've done things to kind of compensate. Like, we have a whole section of our warehouse where is in this section we only put things that we add to the store. There's no new items in this section. So if we have to find something and we have to go through all the bins, it's on this side of the row, in this side of the warehouse only, and we don't have to go around the whole warehouse, because that would be crazy. So at least we're doing things like that. And we're doing things like, if I add it, it's in this side. If she adds it, it's in that side. So if we're like, okay, we sold this part and we can't find it, like who added it to the store? Like, oh, it was me, or it was her. Then we'll search on that side of the warehouse, and we're all pitch in and help, and kind of like that's what we do. And if not, we'll just go to our backups and try and pull another part if we can. If not, then we'll say I'm sorry.
I think the big takeaway overall that I've gotten from this call, it's not that you can't find the parts to sell. Like what you do, it's the processes, and that's how you've gotten to where you're at today. And just like I'm literally mind blown that you have all these little pieces laying around somewhere. You get tens of thousands of these, God knows how often. It's the processes. That's why there will never be Eduardo 2.0, because it's too hard to figure out. I mean, it's all credits due to you for actually putting in, the past 4 years, 5 years you've been building this business. It's not something you can just stumble into like books. Anybody can go scan books, put them on a bookshelf, easily go pick the book, right? Your processes are completely different and refined, and they're always going to be changing as you continue to grow. But it's just eye-opening, because I always try to tell people the product's out there, but if you don't have the processes, you're never going to be able to get anywhere significantly, because you still take forever to do this part of the business or this part of the business. And somebody like myself who's all about I don't want to be in my business all day, every day. I want to get as much time back as I can. And even somebody that wants to grow, the time is your most valuable thing in this business. And if you're not efficient across the board, it's gonna kill you at the end of the day. I mean, you probably do some of these listings. You're doing 18 photos for a little, missile, and as much as I hate to say it, you're probably listing 18 photo listings 10 times faster than somebody who's just sitting there taking all day to do one stupid listing for one t-shirt and they're doing maybe 6 photos. So, I mean, kudos to you for developing these processes. I mean, that's going to be your future. You just kind of hit it on the head. You're still figuring it out. And that's how you're going to get to 300 sales a day and be able to easily go find the item and pack it and ship it.
Yeah. Thank you, man. It's still a work in progress. There's a lot to do, a lot. But like you said, we've had to develop our own things, our own process, our own, because there's nothing already out there that I can go and copy. Like I've been looking over YouTube, and then I take ideas from everywhere. Like I take ideas from the Lego people. I take ideas from, collectors that are doing this or that, and then I take ideas from big stores, like real toy stores. What are they doing? How are they ordering? How can I combine? And like I'm trying to mix in as much as I can. Then I'm in a group where with like-minded people where all these people are winning, and I'm like, how do we get there? How do we do that? How do we figure it out? And then how do we make that work in this niche, which is kind of weird and crazy at the same time. So, but like if tomorrow I really put up a goal where I say I want to make, let's say I want to make $1 million in sales, I know for sure that it's not going to come only from parts. It cannot. I believe it can happen unless I have, I don't know, 100,000 or 300,000 parts up and they're selling constantly all day long. It's very hard. And then how do I get those 300 parts up? It's not, I don't know. I don't want to say it's not doable, but it's crazy. I don't know. We would have to start adding, okay, I'm going to have to call Hasbro and say, hey, send me, a
Everything.
container of your new lines, all that you did. And then I'm going to sell those too, because new stuff sells too. And I have a little bit of that. And I am already doing that. And I'm already selling sealed brand new toys mixed in with, and again, all those things have helped me be able to develop the parts store because I have all these other things happening in the store where I'm also selling it. I sell board games and I've sold action figures, the Motu toy lines that are in Target and Walmart and all that. I have all that up in my store as well. So by doing all of that, I'm able to kind of get to the place I am now. But it's an interesting and long process.
So do you have anything you're chasing that you haven't got in your hands as far as a part goes that you really want to get for for your store essentially?
Yeah, like there's a couple of parts like Street Shark parts. We're always looking for those because they sell really well. It's a very good toy line, and they sell fast, but they're very hard to find. Like some Street Shark parks, and there's like a Batman Batmobile engine, like the center of the Batmobile has like an engine like that's like a turbine. That one of those vehicles has a launching missile that it launches a turbine. Say it or not, it's like a missile. That missile is always missing. It goes to an $800 car, and the missile sells for $150. And with all the thousands and thousands and thousands of parts that we process, I can't find one. It's crazy. And I have three in stock. I have three here that I recently got, but it's crazy. I can't find them. Like I can't have more than those three. And I'm looking for those. Every time we're doing a lot, we're all looking for those parts. And there's more than just Street Shark and Batman, but we're always looking for these hard to find parts. There's Ninja Turtle parts that are expensive. A bunch of them we're looking all the time, but they're hard to find.
So I've recently gotten into CDs. I noticed with CDs, I'm having a lot of plastic waste because of broken plastic, essentially. I can't even have come to imagine what do you do with your waste, the junk that's broken, chewed on? Do you melt it and make, I don't know, basketballs out of it?
So I have this. It's like a trash can.
Yeah,
It's a big eBay box with all the parts that are broken.
yeah.
Uh, and when everyone that processes parts has one of these in their thing in their desk, and we pretty much when it fills up, we have bins, and we have the bins stacked up. We have bins and bins of broken parts, and they sell. You make
Really?
lots. You put them on the you put them on the table, and you make a pile like that, and you say, and then people buy them for customs, for dioramas, for,
Oh,
and you're gonna have like it's a broken machine, and it doesn't matter because there was an explosion and the thing broke, and then they'll paint it
yeah.
with an exploding thing, and they'll make a diorama, and I'll sell it for, I don't know, 19.99, $10 shipping, and you get, I don't know, 20 pounds of, and people will do that, and then they get all
Oh, my
sorts of
broken
parts.
CDs apparently.
Yeah, but I don't know about CDs, but like the toy parts are, because sometimes it'll have like a chew mark, but the part is good. So they can use it for a diorama for something, and they
Yeah.
don't want to paint on an expensive part. They rather paint on top of a damaged part, or so yeah. So we keep them, and we have never sold broken parts, but I know they sell because I have friends of mine that sell them all the time. We're just keeping them there, and we're focusing on the stuff that really sells now. But whenever we want, we can start doing little lots of broken parts, and they sell.
I got one last question for you, and it's going to be the toughest question of the whole podcast.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Here we go.
Who is your favorite Ninja Turtle?
Oh my god! I don't have a Ninja Turtle is not my thing, so I don't know if I have like a favorite. But I love Hot Shot, which is a dog that like a fireman dog, and I like that figure because I like dogs as well. So kind of like I like that figure. It's a crazy figure. It's different from the regular turtle like looking figurines, and he's expensive too. He's like $300 $400. Um, so I like him, and then there's other cool figures like Scratch the Cat, which is $2,000 and stuff like that. There's a couple of interesting. Ninja Turtles is one of those toy lines that's, to me, it's fun, and it's one of those toy lines that I would keep. If you ask me the question where you say like, okay, if you had to drop every single toy line that you sell and you only have to keep five, probably I would keep Ninja Turtle as one of the lines that I would sell, just because it has a lot of parts that sell for little money. So they said constantly in orders, and the people combine them, and they make $60 $70 orders with this little inexpensive parts. And then they have the most amount of crazy high dollar parts that you can never find, or that if you find them, it's just expensive, and they're really hard to find. And in GI Joe, where I know these toy line and I know all of that, it's very hard to find a single part that's $400. You can't find that. In Ninja Turtles, you find it. So it's a good toy line to kind of like expand and kind of get to know. And it's full of interesting figures that are really valuable.
Yeah, they're not turtles, so it's pretty funny how that works out. Johnny, what's your favorite Ninja
Dinosaurs,
Turtle?
dinosaurs, dogs, cats that are not the turtles but are in the turtle toy line. So
And
yeah.
Johnny, who's your
Splinter.
favorite?
Splinter.
I mean,
Splinter, yeah, he's a rat.
I
Yeah, but
needed to classify better and say one of the four actual turtles
Oh,
of the
Raphael.
line.
Raphael then. So my final question that I'm going to copy Mike and make it a way better question. What is your favorite toy that brings you the most joy and happiness? Doesn't matter its worth, that makes you personally happy.
I guess GI Joe and GI Joe, that would be the toy line, and it's because it was my favorite toy line to play as a kid, and the play sets, man. I mean, that's what, like, I mean, again, I don't play anymore. Like I don't sit on the floor and play with the little. I don't do that anymore. But that's what brings me the most joy. GI Joe, and then the play sets with all the figures, and like I like putting them up and just looking at them, and they look pretty cool. Like that set over there, man. That set is amazing.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up here. Eduardo, he'll have his eBay link. It'll be down in the pinned comment on the YouTube channel. If you're interested in speaking to Eduardo, he exists over in Tech's group, Reselling Greatness. He's on the Toy Call. He's on a bunch of other calls as well. Eduardo, we appreciate you hanging out today, and we will talk to everybody in next week's episode.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Resellers Mindset Podcast. Today's full episode and all previous episodes are available to all YouTube members, along with the weekly Zoom call and private Discord. Head on over to youtube.com/theusebookguy and consider joining for as little as $2.99 a month.